Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Think this is a leap of faith? Just wait till you see the leap of faith you'll need to take with your 401k plan when you retire.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
His name, Evel Knievel, a daredevil of sorts who for decades of old dominated the headlines of America, particularly during the years of 1971 to 73, where old Evel made an incredible 87 death-defying leaps of faith, of which 82 were successful, which just goes to show you can't win them all. In lieu of the risks he took and the things he learned during all of these years of riding his motorcycles over cars, buses, and yes, even canyons, it is important to note that on December 12, 1970, Evel Knievel reportedly switched from riding various British motorcycles to exclusively riding a Harley-Davidson XR750, which he learned the hard way was a better platform for the type of abuse Evel was heaping on his motorcycles and yes, even himself. Something savers might want to take note of who for years have been willing to risk their 401k plans with Wall Street while working, of course, but then, as they retire, may need to switch gears and start moving to safer territory, which is the topic of today's show, the 401k Leap of Faith, Part 2. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, 401k Leap of Faith specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker, and before we jump into high gear and help you take that leap of faith from working for a paycheck to having that 401k you've been socking money into begin to work for you, let me introduce two daring young lads who produce this show every week, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, and Louisville's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, what does a daredevil risking his life by taking hundreds of death-defying jumps with a motorcycle have in common with savers risking their retirement by investing in investments that could crash at any time? Simple. Both activities require, that's right, a leap of faith. Faith that the obstacle set before you is not too big for the one taking the leap able to conquer. You see, as Evel Knievel discovered, even when it comes to leaping over tall buildings in a single bound, it's best to exhaust all efforts to use your experience and to find the safest equipment to get the job done so you won't get hurt in the process. And assuming you are a saver and more concerned about doing everything you can to safely enjoy this thing called retirement, what I'll show you today will equip you to be in a better position to keep more of your hard-earned money working for you without crashing and burning in the process. So stay tuned as I continue our series, The 401k Leap of Faith, Part 2. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Our Tony in the Trenches comes to us from Peggy over in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, who asks the following. Tony, I'm getting ready to turn 60. 10 years ago, my husband and I divorced. This past year, he passed away. I was told by a friend that I could draw on his Social Security and then start my Social Security later. Is this true? Well, to help us answer this question, what I decided to do is go to our own Lisa Allerkamp, who is our Social Security specialist in our Bowling Green office, to take care of this question. So take it away, Lisa.
A Social Security survivor's benefit can be taken as early as age 60. However, keep in mind, as with most Social Security benefits, if you do start receiving it before your full retirement age, your survivor's benefit will be reduced. As a surviving spouse, you do have the option to start taking the survivor's benefit and later switch to your own benefit if doing so will provide you a higher benefit. Lastly, it is either or, your own benefit or the survivor's benefit, but you cannot take both at the same time.
And maybe you're like Peggy and seeing articles like this too and getting worried or nervous about your Social Security or even claiming strategies. Let me invite you to contact Lisa at any time at no cost or obligation. If you have a Social Security question, it is lisa@TonyWalkerFinancial.com. All right, there's a lot of questions out there. You might even have questions like this. Tony, do I have enough money saved for retirement? Or how about this one? How do I make sure that I don't run out of money? Well, let's talk about taxes, because if you had a chance between risking your money for higher returns to do this thing we call retirement, which is not a sure thing, by the way, or if you could save on taxes, putting more money in your pocket, a sure thing, I would try to figure out how to lower my taxes because there's no risk in that. But since the government has made the tax law so complicated, about 20 years ago, I created this handy dandy tax graphic, and I call it tax diversification. And it helps people understand what the taxes are and investments and how they're going to be taxed. Funny, I stumbled across this article recently talking about the same thing, and I noticed down at the very bottom a little graphic that sure looks pretty familiar to the graphic I came up with 20 years ago. Oh well. So let's take a look at how your money will be taxed, all right? Stay with me on this. By the way, Gina Tutwiler loves this graphic.
Whatever.
All right, so we have 4 types of money, 4 types of taxation that the government can try to tax. Now, again, I didn't come up with these laws, folks. You have to understand that this is how they tax your money. So when you're going to work with a retirement specialist, you got to make sure that they understand in the planning process, they understand the taxation of the different assets. For instance, over here we have after-tax taxable. Now let me use an example of that. Let's take CDs, for instance. Had a gentleman come in the other day. He had sold a piece of property, had to pay a little bit of capital gains, but basically he said, Tony, I got $200,000. I've already paid the taxes on it after tax, okay? And I want to earn some decent interest, but I don't want to take any risk. Well, as we record this show in April of 2023, we've got finally some CD rates that are paying pretty good. We can get them through our Charles Schwab platform, and as of the date of this recording, we can get a CD, 1-year CD, for about 5%. So let's stay with that. So he takes the $200,000, makes 5% on his money, and let's say he says he doesn't need the income, so he's just going to let it stay with the bank at the CD. There's a problem, though, because it's after-tax taxable. That full $10,000, the 5% of the $200,000, is taxable. Well, what if he doesn't need the money, or whatever he's under Obamacare, or whatever? It doesn't matter. It is taxable, which takes away, in some cases, some flexibility. Let's take a look at the second type of asset, pre-tax, tax deferred. And yes, we all know that's the 401k plan, which was peddled to us in 1978. Tax rates were pretty high back then, and the idea was sock money away into this thing. Don't worry about the taxes. Put off the pain. One day you'll be in a low tax bracket. And what's kind of funny about this, put up the tax bracket creep graphic, Aaron. Actually, right now, many of you are in a very low tax bracket. You just don't know it yet, which is all the more reason you need a tax training specialist like us to help you think through, because it might be a good idea to take it now. It may be a good idea to keep deferring it. But either way, you got to deal with that tax tumor at some point. Thirdly, after-tax tax deferred. Let's do this. Let's go back to that first gentleman that came to me with $200,000. Upon finding out that the after-tax money in a CD is fully taxable, and he might say, well, where can I get 5% guaranteed right now, Tony, and defer those taxes? Because maybe for some reason he doesn't want to pay the tax now on the interest. Well, that would be an annuity is a good example. You take after-tax money, put it with the insurance company. Currently, again, as of the date of this recording, we can get about 5% interest guaranteed for about 5 years and just let it grow and defer and then deal with the taxes later. By the way, there is a way to actually stretch those taxes out even on an annuity. They're the only asset that will let us do that on an after-tax basis. We can show you how that works. Speaking of annuities, I just thought of this. Next week, we are going to dedicate an entire half hour to an annuity show, all right? And on that, we're going to talk about this idea of a financial entertainer telling people never to put an annuity in a pre-tax asset. And we're going to find out that that is probably the most ridiculous advice ever. So yes, an annuity can go inside an IRA. It works very well. We'll talk about that next week. And then finally, my favorite from a planning standpoint is something called after-tax tax-free. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, imagine we could take $200,000. Let's go back to the gentleman that's already had taxes paid, and he wants to put it somewhere, but he really doesn't need the money. Well, he could buy a life insurance policy, single premium life insurance, just an idea, buy a humongous death benefit with that money, and then when he dies, not if he dies, when he dies, that entire amount of money will go tax-free without probate to his loved ones. Or what about this? Very common is a Roth IRA. The idea of a Roth IRA is you pay the tax now, it's going to grow tax-free forever, and then when you take it out, there's no taxes. Plus, at your death, unlike the pre-tax tax deferred, which your kids are going to have to pay all the taxes owed on that, if you have a Roth IRA at your death, it all goes to them completely tax-free. You see, just like Evel Knievel realizing that he needed a safer and more dependable motorcycle to make that leap of faith over the next jump, you too are going to need something that is more safe than relying on the ups and downs of the stock market to carry you through retirement. Again, one way we do that is through something called annuities. Okay, when we return, I'm going to show you the most important thing you will need in place before you take that 401k leap of faith, something that very few advisors provide their clients, and it's called a written game plan. Stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Shanna Zachary, and I'm responsible for scheduling all new and current client appointments at Tony Walker Financial. Assuming you're new to Tony Walker Financial and wish to schedule a time to meet with Tony personally to discuss your specific situation, we ask that you complete our WorryFree Retirement Starter Kit, which can be found on our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. If the internet is not convenient, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to mail one out to you. I hope that helps.
Our Live Well, Die Broke moment comes to us from one of our clients in Louisville by the name of Steve, who recently handed off my latest children's book, The Adventures of Tony, Baloney, and Cookie, which, by the way, has nothing to do with money. He gave this book to his two grandsons by the name of Caden and Carter, and much to everyone's surprise, their favorite chapter in the book is also my favorite chapter. That's right, Tony Baloney Learns to Potty.
Heavy.
By the way, for more fun than one can stand, let me encourage you to order both of my most recent books on Amazon or any major bookseller, and be sure to comment on them if you enjoy the books. We really appreciate it. Now, if someone were to ask me what I've learned in nearly 40 years of working with other people's money, it's this. There is no way you can truly be worry-free in retirement without a written game plan. Why? It's the game plan itself that allows you and your loved ones to see not only what you have, but how these various investments and taxes you will owe on them can be used effectively to jump from this thing called work to this thing called retirement. And of course, you want to be able to make this leap of faith without the fear of one day running out of money. In fact, to demonstrate what it might look like to retire without a game plan, I've asked our own Aaron Orander to demonstrate.
You know, Derek, all this talk about Evel Knievel and jumping over stuff, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look that difficult to me. In fact, I think I could do it.
You sure you should do it on this though?
Oh yeah, totally. All right,
All right, well,
here we go.
hold on. If you're gonna do this, safety first.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, pretty good. Starting off pretty good. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is fun. Oh, wait. Too fast. Oh, nailed it.
So how do we pull this off? Well, first of all, this ingenious idea called the split IRA concept. And quite frankly, I'm starting to see more and more advisors try to emulate this by a combination of investments and annuities. Again, next week, you're not going to want to miss this show because a lot of people in the investment world who usually used to bash annuities are starting to figure the truth that I've learned years ago, that annuities are the only thing that can guarantee you won't outlive your money. So folks are going to see more and more of this. The question is, even if they try to emulate this and do this, how are you going to monitor your progress? And how does this model help you make financial decisions? Well, it doesn't. This is just where to invest the money. Let's take a look at our proprietary software. And I want to really take my time on this. I've really never gone through this on the TV show and why so many savers are working with Tony Walker Financial. They're seeing something for the first time, an entire snapshot of not only just their assets, but how and when we can use these assets to meet the changes that are surely going to come their way in retirement. Folks, this is more than just rolling your 401k over to an advisor. Heck, there's thousands of advisors that can do that. The real struggle, the real challenge, the real expertise that you're going to need is right here and then moving forward throughout retirement. As you'll notice, this is age 62 to 66. We have these broken up in 5-year time frames. Now, why do we do that? Well, it's not that we can forecast the next 5 years, but what I've found in retirement planning, your life kind of works in little segments. You don't take retirement and look at it as a 30 or 40-year proposition because things are really going to change. In fact, put this up full screen, Aaron. This is something I created and noticed years ago called the 3 halves of life. As you'll notice, folks, different people spend money at different times. In fact, what I've found is most people wait too long to spend it. And when you get into what's called the second half, the majority of people we work with, usually in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s, don't spend a lot of money, which is why you need this model and why we break it up in these segments. Now, if you'll notice here in the top, this is where we put your investments that what we call fixed assets or mailbox money could be there, Social Security, pensions, etc. Maybe you've got some rental income this person did, and that's up there on the model. Now remember, all of this is gross. We're not trying to predict the future on taxes. We're not trying to net taxes out. You don't want to do planning that way. You always want to go on a gross basis. And then, of course, with our certified tax specialist on staff at no cost, we'll be happy to calculate the taxes as you pull money out. Again, since we don't know what the tax laws are going to be in the future, why would we start trying to estimate taxes in the future? It makes no sense. So as you can see here, now this is a pretty large case, but look how diversified this is. Not only are we going to help them with tax diversification, look at all of the different annuities, all the different Schwab accounts we have, several different split IRA combinations built within this plan. Also down here, notice in this case, this person has about $150,000 in a credit union. You might say, why would they have that much money in cash? Why wouldn't they invest it? Well, sometimes, folks, cash is king even when you're not earning a lot of interest. Again, especially in uncertain times like we have. So I don't have any problem with having a bunch of cash on hand. Oh, we covered a couple of weeks ago, Warren Buffett and his Berkshire Hathaway. Right now, as we record this show in April of 2023, they got tons of cash on the sidelines. Why? Because they want to keep it liquid. A lot of times, retirement plans need to look the same way. So as you'll notice, there's not a lot happening here for the first 5 years. That's because they just are getting into retirement. You can see the wages are still here. But then at age 65, when this person retires, we kick in Social Security, and then we start taking money out of the Schwab account. You might say, well, how much? As much as you want. See, the beauty of the Charles Schwab platform is it gives us complete accessibility to our money without penalty, and we can take money out at different times as we need it. Folks, many of you are rushing out and putting all your money in annuities, and as much as I love annuities, you're making some grave mistakes on these things. They are not set up to deal with flexibility. That's not what an annuity is for. Certainly, you can take some penalty-free withdrawals. We'll talk about this next week, but you don't want all of your money in annuities. Believe me, it's going to hog tie your money and limit your flexibility. But then as we slide over here, now we start deploying assets as this person gets into true halftime. And again, we're pouring out plenty of money so this person can enjoy it. In this case, assuming they don't raise the taxes on us, they're in a lower tax bracket. We'll work with them on all that. We'll do all the withholdings. All of that we'll do, again, on the Schwab platform for 0.8%, usually about half of what most money managers charge. So I don't know, if you don't have something like this, if you don't have a retirement planning firm that you can trust that has trained salaried fiduciaries who have no conflict of interest and who are able to follow this game plan, not just when you retire, but now have a tool that you and I can monitor long into retirement, the question is, why not? So here's what I would propose we do. Set up what's called the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And it's real easy to do. Just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that little red button, or if you like, you can even click on the Let's Get Started button if you're serious about working with us. Do it now, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or if you like, you can simply call the number on your screen. Well, what does the Bible have to say about this whole thing of a leap of faith? Well, first of all, you got to define what faith is. And of course, the way this God of the universe is, He's clearly stated that. It's going to give you a lot of confidence as we deal with the uncertainty that's in the world today. Let me grab a cup of coffee. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Did you know that you can watch the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money anytime you want? The show's called The WorryFree Retirement. It's hosted by Tony Walker, and it's available on YouTube. All you got to do is go to youtube.com and right there in the search bar, type in Tony Walker Financial, and you'll see Tony's smiling face. Click on that and you're going to find all types of video content. Again, that's youtube.com, Tony Walker Financial.
I am blessed to manage and own two separate companies, both of which have the same mission, to help savers worry less about money. Tony Walker Financial, which is the financial arm in charge of handling our clients' money, and WorryFree Productions, which is given the task of communicating the services of Tony Walker Financial by producing a TV and radio show each week, as well as all of the commercials we air on radio and TV. Oh, speaking of commercials that really nail our theme of the 401k leap of faith, here's one of our latest commercials that prospective clients tell us really hit the nail on the head. Aaron, let her roll. With the uncertainty of the stock market, our nation's debt spiraling out of control, and inflation running rampant, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. My name is Tony Walker, and for over 38 years, I've made it my life's mission to help savers worry less about money, and I want to help you too. To speak with me at no cost or obligation, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply call the toll-free number on your screen. This 30-second ad speaks volumes to the root of our worries, the uncertainty too much debt and too much inflation can create. It reminds us that even though we might see that bank that just asked us to deposit our hard-earned money with them, doesn't mean they will be around to give it back. Having faith in Wall Street to manage our 401k plan doesn't mean that the money you see on your statement will actually be there for you in the future either. All of this uncertainty simply reminds savers that our faith in man and his ability, or lack thereof, to protect our money will only take us so far. So, how do we create more certainty in our lives? Well, first we must see what it is we are to believe in so that we will be more assured that what is hoped for will actually happen. It's the reason I took years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to create our proprietary software. so that my clients can see what they have and allow us to help them make financial decisions in their retirement. Actually, these written game plans fit right into with what the Bible says about taking the leap of faith. Let's start with Romans 8:24, where we are reminded that hope that is seen is no hope at all. How about this? 2 Corinthians 4:18, which reminds us to look to what is not seen, but to focus more on what is unseen. And then there's this verse, 2 Corinthians 5:7, which simply says that we are to walk by faith, not by sight. But of all these scriptures, my favorite scripture of all, on this definition of faith, if you will, is found in Hebrews 11:1, which simply says this: faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. You know, the entire Bible reminds us that in order to have faith, there must be something in the future to hope for, and a hope that is not seen but unseen, yet one that has evidence that it is true. But Tony, you say, that's the whole problem with this faith thing in God. How can I have faith in a God that I cannot see? Why? Well, because you're probably not looking for Him in the right places. You see, evidence of God is all around us. The endless wonders of His creation that never change and always provide the certainty of a God that is, well, He's quite striking compared to the futile attempts of man and money. As we see an uncertain world crumble around us, and even more comical, see the futile attempts of man to try to fix the mess we've created, I, for one, am more convicted than ever before to place my faith in God. A God who creates certainty, not chaos. A God that gives us evidence of something to hope for when some 2,000 years ago He allowed His Son to take the biggest leap of faith known to man as He died on a cross so that you and I might live forever. And while we are forced to place our faith in man and to have man handle our money, thank goodness we don't have to place Him in charge of our eternal souls. No, that's God's job, and thanks to Him, that's a job that's already been taken care of. Amen? Well, how about you? You might be sitting there right now and saying, Tony, this whole leap of faith thing has got me nervous as a cat. I mean, here I am, retired or been retired for years, and I realize, first of all, I don't have an advisor in whom I can trust, and second of all, I did not realize how important it is to have this written game plan you keep talking about. So if that's you, we need to talk. And it's really easy to do. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and you're going to notice there that little red square. You just click on that, and what that's going to do is take you to a link where you can arrange a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with me. That's right, the owner of the company. I'll be happy to talk to you about your situation. And then, if it warrants, we will then set up a meeting to either discuss your situation in Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky at one of our offices, whatever's convenient for you. So do it now, right now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that little red button, or you can just click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you like, just simply call the number on your screen. Well, we've enjoyed being with you this week. You know what we're going to do next week? We're going to take the full half hour and talk about annuities and why Wall Street is actually starting to sell them. Good stuff coming your way, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.